Hi, thank you for watching. Today I'm going to tell you my top 5 red flags for recognizing a multi-level marketing scheme and why I didn't catch on to any of them. So the first red flag that I would say is if a stranger is reaching out to you on social media. Now, in my case, when I was recruited, a stranger reached out to me on LinkedIn and said that he was looking at my profile and he was looking to expand his business in Chicago and looking for someone who had leadership qualities, was good with teamwork, and just general entrepreneurial spirit, which I think a lot of people would identify with that, but he didn't list anything specific and it was a cut and paste type message. I did not identify this, so I just kind of went with it. The second thing that I would say is a huge red flag is if a loved one starts talking about their undying allegiance to their team or their mentor or coach or any other person that suddenly walked into their life and now is their all-encompassing obsession. So for me, I always called them my people, my Chicago people, my personal life, and I never really, sometimes I would refer to them as my business people, but very rarely would I actually talk about my products or anything regarding to how the business was supposed to make money. It was all about the people. And this is also true of a lot of strangers too, and I'm not sure if this is specific to the Amway opportunity or even more specific to Amway Ltd. There is about a group of, I don't really know how many, it's tens of thousands of people in America that are part of the leadership team development group. And there's also a worldwide business builder, dream builders group that also kind of ascribe to this heavy emphasis on mentorship and leadership. And they actually use that and use that personal growth to then emphasize that you can build the complete life you want by selling their products. The third red flag that I would say, referring to notes. The third red flag that I would say is if they do not outright name their company or the product that they sell, but rather talk about their entrepreneurial opportunity or their business opportunity to create financial independence. A lot of network marketers or multi-level marketers will avoid the topic of sales and recruiting and instead talk about how useful or how instrumental their mentorship has been in their life and how their mentors retired at an early age and created financial independence for them and their family. The fourth red flag that I would say to avoid network marketing schemes is if they emphasize that Google isn't always accurate, so you should just trust everything that they say. I cannot believe I didn't catch this, especially because of all of my debate experience and all of my fact-checking experience. The fact that they said, don't Google us, because you could Google Mother Teresa and find negative things about her, therefore don't trust anything on the internet. We have not given you a reason to distrust us, and you haven't given us a reason to distrust you, or I don't know if I said those words correctly, but basically we have this trusting relationship. So, let's just keep that going. And if you trust us to educate you in the proper timing, we promise that you will get all the information you need to make the decision. So I read the book. The book that they often use is The Business of the 21st Century by Robert Kiyosaki. He has no multi-level marketing experience. He's made all of his wealth in other business, more traditional business ventures or investing or real estate. And they use that as a plus to say he has no vested interest in multi-level marketing, but he is supporting multi-level marketing. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, I'm not necessarily saying that all multi-level marketing are scams or pyramid schemes. However, I think what Robert Kiyosaki was saying about multi-level marketing was the business structure in its purest form, but the reason why I'm making the red flags video is to let you know that people use very sketchy, schemy ways to scam people into their multi-level marketing business. So it might not necessarily be the business structure itself, but the multi-level marketers that represent the companies. And finally, the last and the fifth red flag that I would say to be aware of when being recruited by a multi-level marketer is if you're ever invited to a class or a meeting and assured that there you will get all of the information. I met up with the stranger that I met on LinkedIn. I met him at a Starbucks, which, as a side note, a lot of multi-level marketers do their interviews in either Starbucks or Panera. So, just to let you know. I went to Panera today. That's where my cup is from. Not sponsored. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, I met up with my sponsor. I'll just name him Lalo. So I met up with Lalo at a Starbucks, and we talked about basic interview. I didn't know that his whole interview was scripted, but I was just like going with it, answering the questions how he was leading me to answer the questions. He gave me this book by Robert Kiyosaki, gave me 5 days to read it. We met up again. He talked about consuming your own products versus consuming products from competition. So you make money by consuming your own products. That's a foundation of a pyramid scheme, but I've already gotten into that. So yeah, then he invited me to Chicago for a meeting where I would actually learn the full information. So it took me 3 meetings to actually hear the name Amway. The fact that I did not catch on to that is really astounding. I get it. But yeah, so they won't tell you any information in the meetings, but then they'll get you into this information session where you'll be able to hear all of the information that you need to know. So that if people are using those tactics to recruit you, they are not wanting you to know that it's a multi-level marketing thing, and it is most likely a scam, it's most likely a pyramid scheme, and it quite possibly could be a cult. So now that I've covered all of those red flags, you might be asking me, why did you miss all of those? And I will tell you why. When I was recruited into business, I was in a really dark place in my life. I had just taken a medical leave of absence from college, and so I had just been diagnosed with PCOS, so polycystic ovarian syndrome. My hormones were way out of whack. I had plantar fasciitis, so I was walking in a boot for a couple of months, and I had severe depression and like a lot of trauma that I was working through from college, in addition to working through an eating disorder in which throughout my time in college I gained like 100 or 150 pounds. So I was really very quite unwell. And then Lalo reached out to me, and I was working at a car dealership and not living my best life. So I was open to a different opportunity, and he kind of started talking about like business and like finances, which was something that was an area of, need in my life. And then I slowly started getting introduced to my upline and these people who are really passionate and very positive, and like positive, like abnormally positive. And that'll be covered in the next video. But I just started feeling like maybe this wasn't the end of the world. When I was invited to the first information session, it was in Oak Brook, Illinois. And Oak Brook is a very dark, like it's a very poorly lit area because it's kind of like in the middle of nowhere, or it seems like in the middle of nowhere when it's night. So it was in the middle of January and it was pitch black. This hotel was in the middle of nowhere. I was meeting a group of people that I didn't know after meeting up with a guy who I had just met like a week ago, and I didn't even know the name of the business that I was going to be hearing about. And I actually acknowledged to myself, this might be where I'm raped and murdered. And if that's how it ends, I guess that's just how it ends. And I remember, and I was just reading back from my journals at that time, that I was really, really depressed. Like I wasn't suicidal, although I had been in the past, but I did just have this eerie feeling that I wasn't going to live much past 21. And I was 21 at that time. So I kind of was feeling like life was coming to a close anyway. Very, very odd. So when I met my upline, they were deeply rooted in a Christian faith. And that was something that I was still starting to get more acquainted with. Like, I've been raised Christian and had kind of had that hope, but I had completely lost it at that point. So when I met with my upline, I'm just going to call my upline Platinums Ronald and Raina. So Ronald gave me this book, and stepping out of multi-level marketing for a hot sec, this book changed my life and changed the way that I viewed the value of life in general. It's called The Greatest Miracle in the World by Og Mandino. And all I can say is that whatever death I was living in, I was completely woke out of. I was revived. I was restored. I suddenly felt like there was a reason to live again, and I saw that I could help people see the value in themselves too. Because if my upline was able to do that for me and recommend resources for me to help find hope, then I can do that for other people. In addition to making money, which is just an added bonus. So at that point, after reading that book and breaking down sobbing and realizing that I had so much more to give to the world and so much beauty within myself and so much hope for a better future, that there was nothing at that point that anyone could say to me to make me disbelieve my upline. I mean, I was all in, sold out to this business, but mostly to the people who are in the business. And that's where I'm going to kind of close this video with saying that I don't think that the people who recruited me into the Amway business were trying to scam me. In fact, when I launched, I sat across from Ronald, who's this big guy, and me as a 21-year-old little girl, wearing professional clothes but construction boots because that's the only shoes that I owned at that time. I looked across the table at him and told him that if he's taking advantage of the vulnerability that I had nothing left, and I told him, I'm trusting you with everything that I have left, and if you're taking advantage of me and you're just trying to scam me out of my money, there's a special place in hell for you. And I don't think at all that that was their intention. In fact, a lot of my upline actually encountered faith and hope in a better future alongside their encounter with the Amway business. I think where it all got twisted up was the fact that their beginning of their faith journey also was the beginning of their Amway business. And so I don't think there's much separation between their idea of what a fulfilled and happy and God-honoring life is outside of the Amway business. So no judgment to the MLMers. I think that a lot of multi-level marketing people actually really want to help their network and really want to see other people encounter the same hope that they've encountered. But I think that a lot of that hope is misplaced. And if you ever want to borrow a copy of this book, I have it. It's only $7 on Amazon. And this book might kind of open your eyes to see the value in yourself. Okay,